They thought the haunting was over until something evil escaped and secretly lived among them, without anyone realizing it. The film begins in 1986, when a young Elise arrives at the Lambert family's home at the request of Carl, a psychic who is also her colleague. Upon arriving, she is welcomed by Lorraine Lambert, the homeowner and mother of a young boy named Josh. It turns out that Carl has asked for Elise's help in dealing with Josh's case, as he has been repeatedly tormented by a mysterious, evil entity. Carl had previously tried to help Josh on his own, but the entity haunting him proved to be far more powerful and dangerous than he had imagined. Realizing the situation was beyond his abilities, Carl decided to call Elise, a psychic with far greater experience and skills than his own. Even before they began their investigation, Carl warned Elise that this case was far more dangerous than it appeared. Lorraine then shows Elise several photographs of Josh, each revealing the same woman dressed in black standing behind him.
I'm afraid. There's something in this house. I can feel it.
May I meet him?
After that, Elise begins interviewing Josh while recording the session. Seeing how frightened he is, she decides to hypnotize him and asks him to close his eyes and focus on the sound of a metronome.
Feel yourself getting sleepier. What do you see? Are you alone?
No, she's here.
Where is she?
After asking him several questions, Elise finally asks where the entity is. Josh then directs her toward a closet in his bedroom. Slowly, Elise approaches the closet to find out what is really hiding inside. But without warning, something unseen attacks her.
Water. Please, get out of there.
What do you want? Who are you?
The evil entity suddenly injures Elise's hand, as if warning her not to take another step forward. Afterward, Elise realizes that Josh possesses a rare ability known as astral projection, which allows his soul to leave his body and wander through other dimensions while he sleeps. Although it may sound like a gift, this ability has made Josh a target for dangerous entities from the further. Without realizing it, Josh has already attracted the attention of a powerful entity that intends to take over his body. That entity is the bride in black who appears in every photograph of him. Recognizing the danger, Elise advises Lorraine to erase Josh's memories of his ability and stop taking photographs of him. By doing so, Josh's connection to the astral realm will gradually weaken, making it impossible for the entity to reach him. While Elise is explaining all of this, Josh, who is still under hypnosis, suddenly rises from his chair and points toward one of the doors. Moments later, the door slowly swings open on its own, leaving everyone in the room shocked and terrified. Realizing that the situation is becoming increasingly dangerous, they ultimately decide to erase Josh's memories of his ability. Back in the present day, Renee is still in shock over Elise's death when Josh suddenly appears behind her, startling her. Moments later, both Josh and Lorraine are devastated by the sudden loss of Elise. Without wasting any time, they immediately call an ambulance and seek help. Renee is later taken to the police station for questioning. She tries to convince the detectives by showing them a photograph containing the bride in black and explaining the strange events that took place that night. However, her testimony is dismissed as irrational and is quickly rejected by the police. Instead, the investigators begin to suspect Josh after discovering bruises on Elise's neck that indicate she was strangled by a human. At the same time, the police continue processing the crime scene. If they uncover evidence linking Josh to the murder, he will become the primary suspect in Elise's death. While their home remains under police investigation, Josh brings Renee, Dalton, Foster, and Callie to stay temporarily at Lorraine's house.
I'll go up.
On their first night there, Renee is in the kitchen when she hears a piano playing a song she wrote herself.
Lorraine?
However, when she checks the piano room, she finds no one there. Not long afterward, Renee hears Callie crying. When she goes to check on her, Callie is still fast asleep in her room. Strangely, after returning to the piano room, Renee hears Callie crying once again. This time, when she rushes back to check on her, she discovers that Callie is no longer inside her crib. These unsettling incidents convince Renee that the supernatural terror haunting her family is far from over. She tells Josh everything that has happened, but he refuses to believe her and dismisses it as fear and paranoia left over from recent events. He then urges Renee to focus on their family, insisting that everything is finally back to normal. That night, Tucker and Specs visit Elise's home in an attempt to uncover the truth behind her death. Their search eventually leads them to the basement, a place Elise once used to help her clients. While searching through the room, they discover numerous recorded sessions, including footage from the time Elise investigated Josh's case as a child. As they watch the recording, Tucker and Specs see Josh communicating with an unseen entity.
The kind you can't get wrong. Do you like living here?
How would we do that?
I'll show you.
Who the hell's he talking to? Right there.
Elsewhere, Lorraine suddenly wakes up in the middle of the night and decides to check on her grandchildren. While sitting beside Dalton's bed, she hears him talking in his sleep and saying that someone is standing right behind her. Startled, Lorraine quickly turns around, but there is no one there. Feeling that something is wrong, Lorraine starts walking through the house. Not long afterward, Callie's baby walker suddenly turns on by itself. Several times, she also has the unsettling feeling that someone is walking through the hallway, but whenever she checks, no one is there. The disturbances continue until Lorraine enters the bathroom to take her medication. As she looks into the mirror, she briefly sees a woman dressed in white standing behind her. But just as she turns to investigate, Josh suddenly appears and startles her. Lorraine tells Josh about what she has just seen, but just like before, he dismisses her concerns and insists that none of it is real. He then asks his mother to stop talking about such frightening things, believing it will only make Renee even more afraid. The following morning, Dalton tells Renee about a nightmare he had in which he saw a woman dressed in white standing behind Lorraine. He also reveals that shortly after waking up, he saw Josh talking to someone in the hallway, even though there was no one else there.
I heard voices in the hallway. It was Daddy,
You have to go.
and he was talking to someone.
Feeling that something is wrong, Dalton tells Renee that his father seems different and asks whether she has noticed any changes in Josh as well. However, Renee tries to reassure him and insists that it is only his imagination. Later, while home alone, Renee receives a phone call from the police informing her that Josh has been cleared of any involvement in Elise's death. But her relief is short-lived as she is once again terrorized by the woman in white who continues to haunt her. At the same time, Lorraine secretly meets with Tucker and Specs because she feels that the terror haunting her family is far from over. Tucker and Specs share the same concern and believe that everything is still connected to Josh's case. To support their suspicions, they show Lorraine an old recording from the time Elise investigated Josh when he was a child. It clearly shows an adult Josh standing behind his younger self. The sight leaves Lorraine completely confused, as she cannot understand how an adult Josh could possibly appear in a recording that was made decades ago. Feeling helpless, Lorraine wishes Elise were still alive to help them solve the mystery. Her words inspire Tucker and Specs to contact Carl, one of Elise's closest friends, in the hope of communicating with her spirit. After Carl arrives, they begin a seance using his special dice. Once they establish contact with Elise, Carl asks who killed her and what the entity's true intentions are. Through the answers given during the seance, Elise reveals that the one responsible for her death is the Bride in Black, the same entity that has haunted Josh since childhood. She also directs them to a place called Our Lady of the Angels. Lorraine immediately recognizes the name as an abandoned hospital where she once worked as a doctor many years ago.
Tell us where to find your killer.
Our Lady Angles. What does that mean?
It's Angels. It's a hospital. I used to work there.
Before long, they travel to Our Lady of the Angels and begin exploring the long-abandoned hospital. As they search the building, Carl senses a powerful dark presence coming from one of the ICU rooms, prompting them to investigate. The moment Lorraine sees the room, she is reminded of a mysterious patient named Parker Crane, who had once been admitted there after attempting to castrate himself. Years earlier, while still working at the hospital, Lorraine had occasionally brought young Josh with her. During one of those visits, as Lorraine was checking on the patients in the ICU, Parker suddenly grabbed Josh for no apparent reason.
She's doing better? Yes, adolescent.
The incident left a lasting impression on Lorraine and remained etched in her memory ever since. Lorraine then recalls another strange encounter that took place a few days later. As she was leaving work, she came across Parker inside one of the hospital elevators. He simply stood there in silence, staring blankly ahead despite her attempts to speak with him.
Parker? Listen, I want to apologize for my son the other day.
Sensing that something was wrong, Lorraine later asked a hospital employee why Parker had been wandering through the corridors. To her shock, the employee informed her that Parker Crane had actually died the previous day after taking his own life by jumping from the hospital building. Realizing that Parker may be connected to the terror they are facing, the group immediately searches for his records in the hospital archives.
Parker Crane, that's him.
This address. There's something there.
After locating his home address, they waste no time heading there in hopes of uncovering more answers. Upon arriving at Parker Crane's house, the group begins searching every corner of the property for clues. While exploring, Specs and Tucker discover what appears to be Parker's childhood bedroom. But they are confused to find it filled with feminine decorations despite Parker being a boy. Before they can investigate any further, a young girl suddenly appears and warns them to leave before it is too late.
You can't be in here. She'll make me kill you.
Meanwhile, in another part of the house, Lorraine discovers an old painting depicting a young girl and her mother. As she examines it more closely, she realizes that the mother in the painting is the same woman in white who has been haunting her family. But while Lorraine is focused on the painting, a chandelier suddenly crashes down, nearly hitting her. At the same time, Carl senses an overwhelming negative presence within the house. He immediately uses his dice to contact Elise and find out why they were led to Parker Crane's home. However, Carl soon realizes that the spirit communicating with him is not Elise at all, but Parker Crane's mother, the woman in white who has been behind the horrifying events all along.
What does that mean?
It simply means the mother of Parker Crane. It's literal.
Meanwhile, Tucker hears a strange noise coming from behind a bookshelf. After moving it aside, the group is hit by a powerful foul odor. Hidden behind it is a secret room containing the preserved bodies of 15 women. They also discover a collection of newspaper clippings revealing the identity of a serial killer known as the Bride in Black. To their horror, all 15 victims mentioned in the articles are the same women whose bodies were found inside the room. Among the evidence, they find the black wedding dress worn by the killer, and the moment Carl touches the dress, he experiences a terrifying vision that reveals the truth. The person behind the Bride in Black was actually Parker Crane. Throughout his life, Parker was manipulated by his mother into murdering women who made him feel attracted to them or reminded him of his identity as a man. That is why most of his victims were young women. Even after his death, Parker never truly moved on. Instead, he continued haunting Josh, whose astral projection ability made him the perfect target. Parker's ultimate goal was to take over Josh's body and return to the world of the living, because he longed for a life that had never truly been his own. Meanwhile, elsewhere in the house, Renee regains consciousness after previously passing out from an attack by the woman in white. Still shaken by the experience, she once again urges Josh to leave the house as soon as possible. However, Josh refuses and insists that running away will not solve anything. According to him, the entities will continue to follow them wherever they go, so the best thing they can do is ignore them. But during the conversation, Josh suddenly begins talking about death as if he has experienced it himself. His strange remarks make Renee suspect that something is different about her husband. Not long afterward, they hear someone playing the piano, but when they investigate, there is no one there. As soon as Renee hears the melody, she recognizes it as a song she once wrote specifically for Josh. Strangely, Josh has no memory of the song at all.
That's the song that's been playing.
What song?
The song I wrote for you. You don't know that song?
No, I don't. Well, it's not the song that we should be worried about.
This only deepens Renee's suspicions, as it should have been impossible for Josh to forget something so meaningful. Meanwhile, Dalton is awakened by a voice coming through his toy tin can telephone. At first, he assumes it is Foster trying to talk to him. However, once fully awake, Dalton realizes that one end of the toy telephone is leading directly into his closet. Before Dalton can do anything else, a woman suddenly emerges from the closet. She claims to be one of the Bride in Black's murder victims. Not only that, but she reveals that 15 other spirits were also killed by the same serial killer. At that moment, Dalton realizes that he has unknowingly entered the further. Terrified, he desperately tries to wake himself up. Fortunately, Renee arrives just in time and manages to calm him down. Meanwhile, Josh is seen sitting alone with a baseball bat, talking to someone who is not there. After he leaves the room, it is revealed that Josh's real soul is still trapped in the further, desperately trying to reclaim his body. The truth is that Bride in Black has been possessing Josh's body all this time, while the real Josh remains imprisoned in the Further. Through the piano, Josh tries to reach Renee by playing the song she once wrote for him. However, all of his efforts prove futile. The Bride in Black's influence is still too strong, and no one realizes that the Josh living among them is not the real Josh at all. The following day, Lorraine secretly meets with Renee and warns her that her family is in grave danger. She explains that Josh's body has been taken over by the spirit of Parker Crane, better known as the Bride in Black, while Josh's real soul remains trapped in the Further after trying to save Dalton. Because of this, Lorraine urges Renee to keep herself and the children away from Josh. If Parker Crane truly has control of Josh's body, there is a real possibility that he could kill again. At the same time, Carl, Specs, and Tucker are working on a plan to stop him. Their goal is to render Josh unconscious, giving his real soul a chance to return from the Further and reclaim his body from Parker Crane. After Lorraine and Renee leave, Carl arrives at the house to confirm whether the entity inside Josh's body is truly Parker Crane. The moment he comes face to face with him, Carl immediately realizes that something is wrong. Josh's skin has become unusually pale, and his body is slowly beginning to decay under the influence of Parker Crane's spirit. Carl's suspicions grow even stronger as he notices how drastically Josh's behavior has changed. Eventually, when Carl openly addresses him as Parker Crane, the entity immediately loses control and launches a brutal attack on him.
I thought maybe you were playing with your dice.
What have you got behind your back?
Why don't you ask your dice?
What is Parker Crane holding behind his back?
The situation quickly spirals into chaos. Specs and Tucker rush in to help stop Parker, but they are no match for him and are ultimately overpowered as well. When Carl regains consciousness, he finds himself in the Further, where he finally reunites with Josh's real soul. Together they begin searching for a way to return Josh to his body. Since Elise is now dead, they decide to look for her spirit in the Further, hoping she can help them stop Parker Crane and restore Josh to his rightful place. While exploring the Dark Realm, they encounter a spirit who warns them that Callie is in danger.
There's someone standing in front of you. He's talking to you.
I don't see anybody.
He's got you, baby. He's got you.
The spirit then directs them to the Lambert family's former house. Without wasting any time, Josh and Carl immediately head there. There, they spot the man with the leather jacket tormenting Callie in her bedroom. Determined to save his daughter, Josh rushes toward the house and begins knocking and pounding on the front door. To his surprise, the sounds can be heard by Josh and Renee in the past. It is then revealed that several of the mysterious events from the first film were actually caused by Josh himself while trapped in the Further. This is possible because time does not function normally there. In the Further, the past, present, and future exist simultaneously, allowing spirits to interact with events from different points in time. Moments later, Josh manages to enter the house and finds Callie being terrorized by the man with the leather jacket. Fortunately, Elise arrives just in time and drives the entity away before anything worse can happen. Not long afterward, she explains that Josh cannot remain there for much longer, as his soul will continue to weaken the longer he stays. Elise then reveals that the only way to stop the Bride in Black is to confront the source of the trauma that created him. Throughout his life, Parker Crane lived under the control of his mother, and even death did not free him from her influence. Because of this, they must uncover Parker's past and confront the force that has been controlling him from the shadows all along. The problem is that Josh has no idea where Parker's house is located. Fortunately, time does not function normally in the Further, allowing the past and present to overlap. So Elise decides to seek out young Josh, believing his encounter with the Bride in Black can lead them to Parker's house. Josh asks for his help in locating Parker Crane's home. Upon hearing the request, young Josh suddenly rises from his chair and says, "I'll show you," before leading them toward Parker's house.
I'll show you.
This finally explains why adult Josh briefly appeared in Elise's old recordings from decades earlier. Elise also realizes that the mysterious door that opened by itself while young Josh was under hypnosis was actually caused by Josh, Carl, and herself searching for Parker's house through the Further. With everything finally making sense, they immediately set off for Parker Crane's home. At the same time, Renee and Lorraine receive a message from Specs claiming that they have successfully knocked Josh unconscious. However, unknown to them, the message was actually sent by Parker Crane in an attempt to lure them back to the house. When they arrive, they find Josh sitting alone in silence. But the calm atmosphere does not last for long. Realizing that his identity has been exposed, Parker Crane suddenly attacks Renee and Lorraine.
Ungrateful bitch!
Just as Parker is about to kill Renee, Dalton and Foster arrive in time to save their mother. Taking advantage of the distraction, the family quickly flees and hides in the basement before Parker can catch them. Meanwhile, Josh, Carl, and Elise finally arrive at Parker Crane's house in the further. Inside one of the rooms, they encounter a young girl who claims to be Parker Crane. Not long afterward, a woman dressed in white appears and is revealed to be Parker's mother. Holding a drawing with Parker's name written on it, she immediately begins lashing out at him. She constantly berates, controls, and emotionally abuses him. Not only that, but she forces Parker to abandon his true identity and live as a little girl named Marilyn.
Parker! Is not your name! That is not your name!
Your name is Marilyn.
Say it!
My name is Marilyn.
My name is Marilyn.
It is here that the truth behind Parker Crane is finally revealed. Since childhood, he had lived under his mother's control and was forced to become someone he was not. As a result, Parker grew up deeply traumatized, losing his sense of identity and never experiencing genuine love. Even after death, his mother's influence never disappeared. From the further, she continued controlling Parker's life, forcing him to maintain the identity of the bride in black and pushing him to murder any woman who caught his attention. As soon as Parker's mother realizes that intruders have entered her domain, she separates Josh from Carl and Elise, forcing him to face her alone in the further.
Little girls need to learn to be good.
Meanwhile, Elise asks young Parker for help in standing up to his mother and ending the control that has haunted him his entire life. Back in the real world, the situation becomes even more desperate. Realizing that he is the only one capable of finding Josh, Dalton decides to use his astral projection ability to enter the further. Carrying his tin can telephone, he begins searching the spirit realm for his father. At the same time, Parker Crane continues trying to break through the basement door where Renee, Dalton, and Foster are hiding. After several attempts, he finally forces his way inside. Renee desperately struggles to protect her children as Parker closes in on them. However, just as Parker is about to kill Dalton, Elise succeeds in confronting Parker's mother in the further. Once the woman is defeated, her control over Parker is finally broken. With nothing left sustaining him, Parker's spirit is ultimately destroyed, freeing Josh's body from the influence of the bride in black. With the nightmare finally over, Elise quickly urges Josh and Carl to leave the further before they become trapped there any longer. On their way back, they must navigate through countless wandering spirits that still roam the dark realm. Fortunately, Dalton manages to find them and guide Josh back to his body. Thanks to Dalton's help, Josh and Carl successfully escape the further and return safely to the world of the living. Josh's soul is finally reunited with his body, bringing an end to the terrifying ordeal that has haunted the Lambert family. At first, Renee is hesitant to approach Josh, fearing that Parker Crane may still be controlling his body. However, her doubts slowly fade when Josh explains that while trapped in the further, he had been trying to reach her through the piano by playing the song she once wrote for him. Hearing this, Renee finally becomes convinced that Josh's real soul has returned to his body. After enduring a terrifying ordeal that nearly tore their family apart, the two are finally reunited. With the nightmare behind them, Josh and Dalton ask Carl to help them forget their astral projection abilities. They hope that by severing their connection to the further once again, no other entities will be able to interfere with their lives. In the closing scene, Specs and Tucker are still working as paranormal investigators. This time, they arrive at a house to help a young girl named Allison, who is believed to be experiencing supernatural disturbances. While they are there, Allison's younger sister suddenly says that a woman is standing behind Specs and Tucker, even though the two of them arrived alone. It soon becomes clear that the woman is actually Elise's spirit, who continues to watch over them even after her death. Elise then enters the house to meet Allison and examine her condition. However, as she looks more closely at the girl, she notices a terrifying entity standing directly behind her. The discovery suggests that a new terror is only just beginning, and that is where the film ends.